Yo, what is going on, Fantasy Addicts? I'm your host, That Fantasy Addict, and today we are continuing our series of 10-team PPR mock drafts. We've already done a 10-team PPR mock draft with the first overall pick and with the second overall pick, so this time we're continuing on to the third overall pick, and I apologize in advance for the length of this video. Normally, my mock draft videos are anywhere between 40 to 50 minutes. Right now, it's looking like this video is probably going to be around 20 to 30 minutes because I'm in a little bit of a rush and I can't make a super long video. So I apologize for that, but I did want to get you guys some content out today to watch. So I am doing my best to get this video out for you guys as quickly as possible. So it will be shorter, but it's definitely better than nothing. So with that being said, let's not waste any time. Let's get right into the mock draft. Alright guys, so now it's our pick, and Saquon Barkley and Christian McCaffrey both went with the first and second overall pick. Saquon actually went ahead of Christian McCaffrey, which doesn't always happen, but it still is a fairly common move to take Saquon first overall ahead of Christian McCaffrey. I'm not going to do that myself, but I would say about 15% of the drafts, 15 to 20% of the times, that will happen. So now it's our pick, and I already know we're going to take a running back. And if Dalvin Cook were not threatening to hold out, he might be a decent pick here. But just because he is, when you combine that with his extensive injury history, I don't want to take him over a guy like Kamara or Zeke. So it's between Kamara and Zeke for me. You could go either way here, and honestly, you could take Cook if you wanted to also. I couldn't really blame you for that, but I'm going to stay away from Cook here. For Kamara and Zeke, I just think that Kamara has a lot more positive touchdown regression coming his way. He had single-digit touchdowns, and that number should definitely go up. Not to mention, in Dallas, Mike McCarthy is a new coach. So not only is there a new coach in town, which is never that good for fantasy, but also Mike McCarthy has a history of loving to pass the ball and not really using running backs all that much. Look at what happened with Aaron Jones when Mike McCarthy's gone. He went off. Mike McCarthy had Aaron Jones for a few years, but he didn't use him the way that he should have been used. So for that reason, I am going to go with Alvin Kamara. But if you wanted to take Zeke or Dalvin Cook, I do think that it still is a reasonable pick, and you can definitely do that. Then Dalvin Cook goes off the board, followed by Michael Thomas, Derrick Henry. Zeke falls a little late to the 107. Kenyon Drake, DeAndre Hopkins, Joe Mixon, Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders, 3 wide receivers in a row, Julio Jones, Devontae Adams, and Tyreek Hill. I really think that Devontae Adams should be the second wide receiver taken. There is a legitimate shot that he has 200 targets this upcoming season. It probably won't happen, but there is an actual chance of that happening, which is just mind-blowing. Then Nick Chubb and Aaron Jones go. So it's our pick again, and looking at the running backs available, Eckler and CEH are both there. At wide receiver, Chris Godwin is there, and at tight end, both Kelsey and Kittle are there. Now, I do like Godwin, but looking at the running backs available, Eckler and CEH are definitely better than the rest. And if I take Godwin or Kelsey here, I'm not sure that with my third round pick, I would get one of those two running backs. In fact, I'm pretty sure that I wouldn't. But there is a chance that I get Kittle with my next pick. And at wide receiver, I can wait until the fourth round if I need to take my wide receiver one. It's not a bad strategy at all, especially in a 10-team draft. There might be guys like Calvin Ridley available, not to mention Juju has actually been available once in a while with my fourth round pick here. Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, one of those guys should definitely fall. So for that reason, I'm going to take either CEH or Austin Eckler. But I just feel like Austin Eckler is a little safer. CEH, at the end of the day, is a rookie, and he wasn't the most talented rookie in that draft class. So taking him this early would be way too much of a reach for me. So I will take Austin Eckler, who should definitely be utilized in this offense, no matter who is starting at quarterback, Justin Herbert or Tyrod Taylor. I do think that this offense should revolve around shorter passes to Austin Eckler. Then we have a diverse group of players going. We have a tight end, Travis Kelce, wide receiver, Chris Godwin, quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, and running back, CEH. So, looking at the running backs available, there's no one who I really like. The only guys who I would consider taking are Le'Veon Bell and Chris Carson, but this is way too much of a reach for them, so I'm not going to take them here. Now, if we take a look at wide receiver, Mike Evans is available, who I have not been taking that much, but considering that we are in the third round, he is not a bad pick at all. But I just don't really see how he's that much better than a guy like Calvin Ridley, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, guys who we could get in the fourth round. Normally, I might take Mike Evans or Kenny Golladay here. But we have the second best tight end in George Kittle available at our pick. And a lot of times, even though I like Kelsey and Kittle, I find myself not taking them that much because there's so much value at the tight end position later on in drafts. But when you're in a 10-team draft, you don't really have to worry about running back depth or wide receiver depth because there's a decent amount of it to go around. So I don't mind spending an early pick on a tight end in a 10-team draft as opposed to a 12-team draft. So for that reason, if I'm getting the luxury of having the second best tight end in fantasy football with the potential to be the tight end one overall this upcoming season, I do think that it is a very good pick. So we are going to take George Kittle with that pick. Then Lamar Jackson goes, followed by Leonard Fournette, Le'Veon Bell, Mike Evans, David Johnson, Adam Thielen, Kenny Golladay, Amari Cooper, Allen Robinson, Todd Gurley, James Conner, Melvin Gordon, Juju, and Calvin Ridley all go. So does it suck that a lot of the receivers who I liked just went? Absolutely. Juju and Calvin Ridley are guys who I really, really like, and they went 1 and 2 picks before my pick. But the thing is, we still have so many receivers who are available that I like. DJ Moore, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, all great players. And not to mention, if I take one here, I might be able to get one with my next pick. Odell Beckham is available, and as my wide receiver 2, I think that he does have potential. So if he is a wide receiver 2, yes, he's risky, but it might be worth it. But as a wide receiver 1, I don't really want that kind of risk involved. I don't think that it's the best investment that you could make, even with your fourth round pick. I just want to take a quick look at running back because I see that Chris Carson is available, and I can be pretty sure that he won't be available by my next pick. It is certainly a little risky to not take a wide receiver here because even though I am okay with guys like DK Metcalf and AJ Brown, I do think that DJ Moore, Cooper Kupp, and Robert Woods are definitely a significant tier higher than those guys. But I do feel like there is probably a 2/3 chance that either DJ Moore, Kupp, or Robert Woods is available with my fifth round pick. So I am going to be a little risky here and take Chris Carson because him as my RB3 is phenomenal. So we're going to be a little risky and take him. Then DJ Moore, Robert Woods, Odell Beckham, and Devin Singletary go. So luckily, very, very luckily, Cooper Kupp did in fact fall to us. So I'm definitely going to take him here. I honestly like this entire Rams offense because with so many vacated targets, I really feel like there is enough volume to go around here. Now, I do like Robert Woods a lot considering how late he has been falling oftentimes. Cooper Kupp doesn't usually fall this late, but he did in this draft, so obviously I'm going to take him here. But at his normal ADP, I'm not a huge fan of him. I'm just about average with him. But Robert Woods falling to the 4th and 5th round consistently, I really like. I think there's a lot of targets for him. I think there's targets for Higbee. And I think there's some volume for Cam Akers as well, considering that you can get him in the 6th round usually. I think that is great value. So I like all those guys, even though it seems weird that I like almost an entire team. At the end of the day, this is a high volume offense, and they have produced some very good players in recent years. So I am going to go with Cooper Kupp. He is Jared Goff's safety blanket, and I think Jared Goff should improve this season. Last season he was a lot worse than we expected, but I think that this season he should definitely be better. So we took him, and then Jonathan Taylor goes, followed by Mark Andrews, A.J. Brown, Raheem Mostert, David Montgomery, Mark Ingram, Cortland Sutton, DK Metcalf, Kyler Murray, Keenan Allen, Zach Ertz, T.Y. Hilton, Kareem Hunt, and Terry McLaurin. I'm not going to lie, I am really, really upset that Terry McLaurin just went there. I really, really like him and think that he has a good shot at being a wide receiver one. And I feel like he's almost a lock to be a wide receiver two. I really like him, but he didn't fall, but it's completely okay because there still are some other guys who I still like. I think that Tyler Lockett's okay, but I'd probably go with Chark ahead of him. AJ Green's risky. I'm not going to take him as my wide receiver too. Then later on in the draft, Devontae Parker, Jarvis Landry, Michael Gallup, Tyler Boyd are all guys who I like, and I think that I should be able to get them in the 8th round, or I could be very safe and take them in the 7th round. But I do see that Cam Akers is here, and I'm not sure if I want to take him here because obviously I already have 3 really good running backs and only 1 wide receiver. But if I were to take a wide receiver here, it would probably be Chark. But the thing is, I don't really think that Chark is that much better than Devontae Parker. So, yes, I could take Chark and Parker, but I'm honestly fine with one of them, knowing that with my 8th round pick, I should be able to get one of Landry, Gallup, or Boyd, and Slayton should definitely be available. CeeDee Lamb should definitely be available. Marvin Jones, who is probably my biggest sleeper in this portion of the draft, he should be available. So it is a little risky to go with 4 running backs before your second wide receiver, but I just don't see the value and the reasoning in taking a wide receiver right here because the value with my next pick should be the same as this pick. So I'm going to go with Cam Akers with this pick. It's a little risky, but I do think that the value is there. So Lockett, Chark, Darren Waller, and Dak Prescott all go. Our guy, DJ Chark, did go, but honestly, I don't really see the problem because I could go with Diggs, who is a little risky, but certainly has a good amount of potential because he was so good on deep routes, and Josh Allen loves throwing deep routes, and he was actually okay throwing deep routes to John Brown. John Brown was a pretty good deep threat, and Josh Allen didn't have very good accuracy last season, but he was okay throwing it to John Brown. Stephon Diggs is better than John Brown, so I do think that Josh Allen should like to throw the ball a lot to Stephon Diggs downfield, but I think that Devontae Parker is just a safer option because he was really, really good without Preston Williams. And yes, Preston Williams is returning, but he had a mid-season ACL injury. He tore his ACL in week 8 or 9, I think. And those injuries are not great when you injure them, especially mid-season. So Preston Williams very well could get re-injured. And at the very least, his production is going to be hindered a lot by his injury. So I do think that Devontae Parker should come close to producing what we saw him produce without Preston Williams at the end of last season. So I'm going to take Devontae Parker here. And then AJ Green goes, Russell Wilson, Marquise Brown, Deshaun Watson. Stephon Diggs falls a little bit. DeAndre Swift, Jarvis Landry, Damian Williams, Gronk, Drew Brees, Darius Geis. I really wish that Darius Geis or J.K. Dobbins fell to me because I do like both of them. Tyler Higbee goes right in the middle of both of them, and Brandon Cooks goes right before myself. So now it's time for us to choose who we want. And first, let's just get running back out of the way. So Ronald Jones is there, James White is there, and I'm okay with both of them, but one of them should be there with my next pick. So there's no reason in taking a running back here, especially considering I have Kamara, Eckler, Chris Carson, and Cam Akers, and only 2 wide receivers. So this is definitely a wide receiver round. And I could take Gallup and Boyd if Boyd is there with my next pick, but we'll see what happens there. So we might not even have the option to take Boyd with our next pick if he goes within the next 4 picks, but we'll see what happens there. For now, I'm just going to stick with Michael Gallup because there is a lot of volume to go around in that offense. This team enjoyed passing the ball last season, and now they bring in a pass-heavy coach in Mike McCarthy. There's going to be a lot of targets going around here, and Michael Gallup should see at least 110 targets for sure. And even if he only sees 115, 120 targets, what you have to remember is that last season he finished as a wide receiver too with only about 115, 120 targets. So even if he gets that, he should be completely fine this season. So For that reason, I am going to take Michael Gallup. I really like him, and CeeDee Lamb's presence does not worry me at all. Then Deebo Samuel, Ronald Jones, Marlon Mack, and Deontay Johnson. So, at first glance, I do like Tyler Boyd a lot, and I also like Marvin Jones. Now, I could take Tyler Boyd here and hope that Marvin Jones falls to me with my next pick, or what I could do if I want to be a little risky is take James White here and hope that Marvin Jones falls to me with my next pick. Because if I take James White here and then Marvin Jones falls to me at my next pick, I would be really, really happy with that. But if I take James White and Marvin Jones is not there with my next pick, and I'm stuck between Crowder, Kirk, Ruggs, and those guys, I do think that that would be very, very unfortunate, and I don't really want that to happen at all. Looking at our roster, even though I do like my wide receivers, I just feel like my running backs are so much safer that there's almost no point in taking James White here. I might as well play it safe and take Tyler Boyd, knowing that if this were a real league, at the end of the day, since I feel very confident in Tyler Boyd, I could just trade him for a running back if I really needed to. But honestly, I don't expect myself to need a running back. I have 4 running backs who I really, really like, including 2, Alvin Kamara and Austin Eckler, who I feel very, very confident in, and one of them, Chris Carson, who I know is going to be good as long as he's on the field. So I'm going to take Tyler Boyd, play it safe. I'm not going to take James White here. Then Will Fuller goes Keyshawn Vaughn. I don't like taking Keyshawn Vaughn this early. I think that it's definitely Ronald Jones' backfield. Keyshawn Vaughn was not that great in college, and Ronald Jones was underrated last season. Tom Brady, Sony Michel, Evan Ingram, Jordan Howard, Hayden Hurst, Aaron Rodgers, Darius Slayton, James White, Edelman, Tevin Coleman, Alexander Madison, and Tariq Cohen. So, looking at who is available, we have Marvin Jones and CeeDee Lamb, but I'm definitely taking Marvin Jones here. He finished last season as a wide receiver 2 while missing 3 games, and with Stafford playing just half the season. That was the worst case scenario aside from him just missing the entire season. So assuming that Marvin Jones doesn't miss the entire season, we already pretty much saw the worst case scenario, and he finished as a wide receiver 2. So tell me why he is going as something around the wide receiver 40. It makes absolutely no sense. He should be going as a top 25 wide receiver without a doubt. I am going to take a quick look at the other positions because you never know what you might find. Matt Breida, I like him, but Marvin Jones is definitely the pick right here. Matt Ryan, Josh Allen, plenty of quarterbacks, so we don't need to worry there. And at tight end, there's plenty of guys there, so I don't need to worry about that. I'm going to take Marvin Jones, even though CeeDee Lamb is a good pick as well. Marvin Jones is definitely the best pick here. So we're going to take him. Then Jerry Jeudy, Matt Ryan, Hunter Henry, and Carson Wentz go. So I could take CeeDee Lamb here, but honestly, now I have a very good amount of wide receivers. I have 3 bench wide receivers, all of whom I really, really like, and I have 2 starting wide receivers, and I'm fine with both of them. So looking at running back, Matt Breida is there, and even though I like my running backs, you never know how many running backs you're going to need on your roster, right? Running backs get injured at a higher rate than any other position, at least most other positions, and I do think that Matt Breida should do pretty well in this offense. This offense is going to like to pass the ball to their running backs, and when you compare Jordan Howard to Matt Breida, the pass catching back here is definitely Matt Breida. It's definitely not Jordan Howard. So I think that Matt Breida is actually the better play as opposed to Jordan Howard, and you can get him in the 11th round in this draft, whereas Jordan Howard went in the 9th round. So I think that Matt Breida is a very good pick here, and he is pretty much the last running back available who I would actually consider starting him in my flex position in week 1. I don't think that I feel super good about it, but if I had to, I would be okay starting Matt Breida in my flex position week 1. All of these other guys, I would not feel comfortable with that at all, except for maybe Latavius Murray, but he's a little riskier than Matt Breida. So we're going to go with Matt Breida with this pick. Okay, so since our last pick, which was Matt Breida, we had Philip Lindsay go, followed by Emmanuel Sanders, Latavius Murray, Josh Allen, Kerryon Johnson, CeeDee Lamb falls quite a bit, Baltimore defense, Tony Pollard, Matthew Stafford, San Francisco defense, Henry Ruggs, Buffalo defense, Christian Kirk, and McCole Hardman. So at running back, no value there. Gonna completely fade that. We have one more bench spot, so let's keep that in mind. I might want to use a tight end with that pick because even though there are some wide receivers who I like Jamison Crowder, like Jalen Rieger, and even Justin Jefferson, I do think that a backup tight end is quite valuable because some of these guys I think are going to be really, really good. Like TJ Hawkinson, Gesicki, Fant, all those guys I like. And no matter how good Kittle is, he has a guaranteed bye week because every tight end has a bye week. And at the end of the day, we never know when he's going to get injured. So I think that it is pretty important to get a backup tight end. Even in a 10-team league, it's not as necessary in a 10-team league than a 12-team league because there's more value on the waiver wire. But still, I think that it is worth it to get a backup tight end in a 10-team league. But also looking at quarterback, Daniel Jones and Big Ben are the last two guys who I actually would like. But looking at the first and second overall team, they already both took backup quarterbacks, it looks like. Yeah, so they're not going to take a quarterback. So with our pick right here, we should take whatever we want besides a quarterback, which is a backup tight end. So then we can get our choice of Daniel Jones or Big Ben with our next pick because we know that they're not going to go within the next 4 picks. So at tight end, Jared Cook is okay, but I'd rather just get a safe player to back up Kittle because I know Kittle's going to be good. And I do like Fant, but he is a little riskier in my opinion. I think that the safest player here is Dallas Goedert. And even though he definitely shouldn't go by my next pick, you never know. And I know that Daniel Jones and Big Ben aren't going to go. And if somehow one of them goes, there's no way that they both go. So I feel safer taking Goddard here. So I eliminate that 0.001% chance that he goes by my next pick. Then we had Jared Cook go, Zach Moss, Henderson, and Pittsburgh defense. No concern there because at quarterback, both of the guys who we like are there. Daniel Jones and Big Ben. You could go either way here. You really could. I'm going to go with Big Ben just because any medical expert will tell you pretty much that Big Ben's injury should be fine for him. He knows not to be throwing those weird passes that caused him to get injured last season. They're like really weird sidearm baseball passes. He's not going to do that because he knows that it's not worth it. He doesn't want to get re-injured. And he's on an offense that he has experience with. He knows Mike Tomlin well. He knows this offense well, obviously. And he's always been good for fantasy. Sure, AB is not there. But honestly, Deontay Johnson is still a pretty good wide receiver too. And James Washington is good as well. So I do like this offense. And James Conner and Jalen Samuels are both pretty good receiving backs. So I think that this team should be a good passing offense. So I'm going to take Big Ben. But if you want to take Daniel Jones, go for it. There's not really a big worry there. Then Daniel Jones goes one pick after Big Ben. So I think that's a good pick. Jamison Crowder, Justin Jackson, Noah Fant, Justin Jefferson, New England defense, Gibson, Justin Tucker, Harrison Butker, Zerline, Tampa Bay defense, Will Lutz, Chicago defense, and Chase Edmonds. So first, let's just quickly look at our roster. We can quickly see that we only need a kicker and a defense. So I think that defenses are a little easier to predict than kickers. So we're going to take a defense here. And I do think that the best 2 defenses are the Chargers and the Vikings. They both have good defenses on paper, and they both just play pretty well. The Chargers weren't great last year, so for that reason, I'm just going to play a little safer and go with the Vikings, who were a good defense last season. But honestly, if you wanted to take the Chargers defense, or even the Seahawks or Cowboys defense, it wouldn't be the end of the world. But I just feel a little more confident with the Vikings defense, knowing that they were good last year, so that shouldn't change this season. Then the Seahawks defense goes, followed by Younghoe Koo, Deshaun Jackson, and Robbie Gould. So we're just taking a kicker, and with kickers, I like to take kickers on good offenses that are very fast-paced, but aren't too elite to the point where they're just going to be kicking extra points every single drive. So I'm going to take a kicker on a solid offense that is very fast-paced, but doesn't always score touchdowns, because I want field goals, not touchdowns. So I think that Prater on Detroit is a good option. Gonzalez on Arizona is a good option. Elliott on Philadelphia is a good option. And Matt Gay on Tampa Bay is a good option as well. So I'm just going to take Matt Prater because I think that offense should be very good and very fast-paced now that Stafford's back. They were very, very good last season, but honestly, if you wanted to take any kicker here, I couldn't really fault you because kickers are very hard to predict. It's very hard to predict success out of kickers. So no matter who you want to take here, go for it. But I'm just going to take Prater because I like him more than the other guys available. So Austin Hooper, Fairbath, Anthony Miller, Zane Gonzalez, Brandon Ayuk, Jalen Reagor, and Drew Lock is the Mr. Irrelevant of this draft. So let's do a quick recap on our team. To start out, we have Big Ben at quarterback. He's probably the worst starting quarterback on any of the fantasy teams in this mock draft, but it's not a concern because he is pretty much just as good as any other starter except for the top few like Lamar, Patrick Mahomes, Dak, and Kyler. But aside from them, Big Ben is pretty much just as good as all of them. Alvin Kamara and Austin Eckler, I really, really like that start, especially knowing that I also have George Kittle at tight end, which is phenomenal. Then at wide receiver, Cooper Kupp and Devontae Parker. That's below average, but honestly, it's really not that much worse than any other wide receiver core on other fantasy teams. Chris Carson at my flex is phenomenal. I think that my first four picks being Kamara, Eckler, Kittle, and Chris Carson is great value. Then Prater, Minnesota Vikings defense, whatever, kicker and defense, doesn't really matter. Then we have some good running back depth with Cam Akers and Matt Breida, and some tremendous wide receiver depth in Michael Gallup, Tyler Boyd, and Marvin Jones. And then we have the safe Dallas Goedert to back up George Kittle in case he goes down with an injury at any point, and just to fill in for when he's on his bye. So Goddard is a very safe play, and if Ertz were to go down, Goddard is a top 3 tight end pretty much. So I really like this team. I am going to give this team an A- draft grade. I think that I could have done better. Not really anything that was my fault, but just the fact that Terry McLaurin didn't fall to me with my 7th round pick. I would have liked him as opposed to Devontae Parker. I would have liked Calvin Ridley or DJ Moore instead of Cooper Kupp. So nothing that I could really control here, but mock drafts are part skill, part luck. Part skill, just knowing that someone has to be a skilled drafter, but then part luck just because if you get robbed out of all the players you like right before your pick, it can cap your team's upside. And I think that happened here. I still like this team a lot. I'm glad that George Kittle fell to me. I'm glad that Chris Carson fell to me. But there were times where I just felt like my guys got taken before me, and there's nothing I can really do about that. So I think I did the best that I could have with what I've been given. So I'm going to give my team an A-. I think that this team could be really, really good. And if Chris Carson stays on the field for 14, 15, or 16 games, I think that this is definitely possibly a league-winning team. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. What I want you to do is let me know in the comments below, what do you think of my team? Do you think that it's really good? Do you think it's pretty good? Do you think it's not so good? And let me know why. If you think that it's really, really good, just like me, then just say what I said, Just say, I agree with you for sure. If you think that it's not a great draft, tell me why. Like, do you think that Cooper Kupp is not good enough to be a wide receiver 1? Are you not super high on George Kittle? Do you not like Austin Eckler this year? Let me know why. And yeah, just let me know what you think of my team overall. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's shorter than my usual videos, but I just wanted to get you guys something so you guys could watch and enjoy. And if you like this video, then be sure to like the video because it does show me that you enjoyed this video and it shows your support. And definitely subscribe to me because I put out content pretty much daily, and I put out more in-depth analysis than I did in this video because, like I said, I'm in a rush and I can't put out a full 50-minute long video. I had to cap it at 20 or 30 minutes here, so I'm sorry about that. But if you enjoyed, definitely subscribe to me because there's a lot more content over there. And also on Twitter, I put out a ton of content there every single day, so definitely go follow me there. Link in the description below. And with that being said, guys, I think we've covered everything that we need to. I really hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Peace.